let's prepare for some standard interview questions. Okay, so what question did you say you had? The question is, what kind of things you look for in an organization before making a change? This question can come in many bottles. You understand this line? They can ask, okay, what kind of organizations do you like? What do you look for in a position? What do you look for? So you say, you know what? One of the things you can straight away go to their company also. I personally think you say, hey, you know what? For example, I look for the company should be. See, you have to remember, if the company is a startup, you should never say that it should have a history. Okay, and when the company has a history, always emphasize on that. All companies who have a history, they like to hear that word again and again. So in this case, they have a 70-year history. So you should say, see, one of the things is, look for is the company has, for example, your company has 70 years of history. Now that makes me feel that it's going to have some mature processes. Everything's going to be done in a certain with a certain level of maturity. And I like that thing, when the processes are laid out properly and when everything is going smooth. I'm pretty sure I'll fit into, I'm going to go and find out a little bit more organized environment than just a startup or maybe just a company with a little history. Okay, so this is one thing that I look for. Second thing, I did some research on your this thing, and I realized that your sales cycle and your service request cycle is this, and जो भी तुम्हें लग रही है, ठीक है? And I like that thing too. I like that thing. I personally think I can add a lot of value. So if you hear my interviews, listen to my interviews, you will notice the one thing. I think I can add a lot of value, ठीक है ना, to that. And third is. Some of the things I look for is what kind of challenges, immediate challenges that they are facing. So in your case, I asked this question. तुमने पहले पूछा होना चाहिए या मैंने इंटरव्यू में पूछा होना चाहिए. I asked you this question, and I realized that some of these challenges are exactly what I would like to venture into and kind of do a very good thing about. So do a very good job about. I'm pretty sure I can meet these challenges for you as well, and that's exactly what I look for in an opportunity. And once I'm talking to you, I'm feeling very comfortable that this can be a really good opportunity for me. ठीक है ना? तुमने कभी प्लीड नहीं करना, पर तुमने उनकी अपॉर्चुनिटी की तारीफ करनी है. बड़ी अच्छी चीज़ है. Always praise what they are giving to you, and always say how you can add value. This is very important. So it goes back to Raman's point. I like that point. Not many people realize. You are saying how you will grow, but you should say how you will make them grow, and that is also a very important opportunity for you, because I value a position where my presence is making a difference. That's exactly what you're trying to say. When you're saying, see, one of the challenges that I see you guys facing is globalization of the sales system, and I have worked on some globalized systems, and I'm pretty sure I can add a lot of value to when you actually start implementing this global system. So I have very good knowledge about languages and things like that, and those can be directly applied here. And when my skills are utilized to the best of their capabilities, that's when really it satisfies me a lot, and that's exactly what I look for. देख रहे हो, तुमने सब तरफ के क्वेश्चंस और जो भी तुमने मेरे से सीखा सारा तुमने एक ही क्वेश्चन के अंदर बॉटल कर दिया. मतलब पता है क्या कहता हूँ मैं? बातें तुमने किसी और पर्सपेक्टिव में सुनी थी, पर तुमने इस बॉटल की शेप के हिसाब से बात बता दी, जो आंसर था. ठीक है, तो you are in this location, but our project is in this location. Are you planning to relocate, or what is your plan? Or are you planning to commute every week?
No, I will relocate as I have.
So one of the things is many things are coming to your mind. Right? It could be cost effective for you. Obviously, it will be cost effective because if you commute every day. Second thing
cost
is
effective distance mainly since I'm a bachelor. I don't have a family.
I know.
If I have a family, then.
तो दूसरा family कि मेरी family नहीं है, I can afford it. Obviously. Third is it's less hectic for me. Fourth is you can always call me and count on me whenever you guys want, because I'm staying local. I can always come to the office and do the work. So there are many things. I would say typically जो मैं करता हूँ, I emphasize on a few things. One is I say that I can add a lot of value to your project if I stay local, and I'm really looking forward to it. And to me, it's better that I come local so that you guys, if the project demands, then I can be available immediately over the weekend as well as during the weekdays. Second thing I always talk about is I never talk about cost effective for some reason, but I always talk about that I'm a bachelor, so I can afford to move. While I can, I might as well do this. Third is, I sometimes say, like some of my relative lives there. So if you think you want to prepare this nicely for this, you should say my fiancé. If you're married, just say like if you're not married, just say my fiancé lives there, and it will basically help me at a personal level also. So that way, you're just basically making a lot of this thing. They might ask you another thing, how soon can you join? Just say, give me a couple of days notice. I've pretty much wrapped up everything here. Okay, I pretty much wrapped up everything here, and I just have to, just take a flight and come. So just give me a couple of days, I will, and I can. If you tell me on a Thursday or a Friday, I should be able to join on Monday. Typically, this is how I say. In an in-person interview, clients will not talk about your green card status, actual status, or any kind of your legal status. So they will not. This is a very common question that you might be asked in the interview. What kind of, so we don't have any documents. This is the typical thing. Let me simply speak what they will say. The message will be, we don't have any documents, process documents. We don't have any BRD, FRD. The system is in place. You are coming in an environment where the system is already in place. So now you tell me, how will you go about learning about the system so that you can start to add value? So इन्होंने question they asked the question like this: what would be your strategy for explicitly learning overall learning so that you will be able to deliver, or you will be able to really help us out in the project? What will be your plan? Let's say you start on Monday, and what will you need to be able to really just get up the speed? What do you need from us so that you can get up to speed in terms of getting the business knowledge? This is the exact question they asked.
Yeah, I just need.
So typically I try to answer this question like this. So first, make a list of all the SDLC phases, right? The SDLC in your mind, or maybe in front of you in a paper. For every phase, write the point of contact, and for every phase, write the deliverable. First phase, planning document is there, and project plan is there, and then project management team is there. Then BRD. At the time of business requirement gathering, there is a BRD which is delivered. That's a deliverable. The SMEs are the people. During the function requirement and the design, FRS is prepared, and SME is the point of contact. During the development phase, the code is delivered, and developer is the person who is basically involved. During the testing phase, test cases, test scripts are the deliverable, right? And the tester is the person. During the training phase, training scripts or training manuals are delivered. Trainer is the person. During the UAT phase, UAT scripts are written, and UAT testers must have come. During the production rollout, all this production rollout application administration related work must have been delivered, and basically developers are involved, right? During the maintenance phase, they must be having a lot of bugs, and those bugs might have been fixed, right? And then users are the people who you basically interact with and all this. Okay. Now, in all this scheme, BRD, if BRD is not present, FRS could be used. FRS is not present, then FDD could be used. If none of this is present, test scripts could be used. Code cannot be used. Or code can be also looked at. If he has the capability, he can say that I can look at the code also. If not, then at least I can look at the test scripts. If not, I can look at the training scripts or training guides. So this is your answer. Second thing is, your answer is, I can meet with the SMEs again. That should be your last choice though. But you should say, I can meet with the tester who has tested the application. So that can give me, he can give me some knowledge. Similarly, I can meet with the trainer who has trained on that application. Similarly, I can meet with the developers and the other VAs who have worked on that application. So they can give me some knowledge in absence of one or the other. And then similarly, I can meet with SME if there is no way. So these are the various. Okay, this is how your answer should flow. So I will articulate the entire answer. I've just given you a visual picture of the answer. Okay, so far. Third thing is you must talk about is, I'm not coming with a clean slate. I do know about the process, the strawman of the process. I know the level 2 process. Your settle points are going to be different. For example, yours is a sales process, and as part of sales, I know there is opportunity management. Within opportunity, there is forecasting, there is proposal generation, and there is pipeline management. Then there is opportunity assignment and opportunity follow-up and activities and expenses involved. I know all these things. Similarly, at the code level, there is revision of code, there is creation of code, there is approval of code, and then finally there is a submission of code or conversion of code to the order. Then at the order level, there are product availability and so forth. Okay. Now I know that this is the main cycle of the sales process, and this is at the level 2. So your process will be having certain steps and may not be having certain steps. So that is your subtle point. So I have an eye for those details, and I will gather it very fast when I am going through any kind of document. Even by looking at the system, I can look at the system and I can understand what's going on. Okay. So the answer that I gave was from this model. Okay.
Documents and
All right. So basically, your question is going. See, right at the outset, I expect you guys to have something related to the requirements. Definitely a BRD or something. He blurts out immediately. Interviewer says, "We don't have any documents." I told you we don't have any BRD or anything. I agree, but you might be having something outdated. Maybe some kind of a system source document, anything, and a source system document, any kind of. Even if you don't, you must be having some kind of test scripts that you might have used to test the system. Even if you don't have those, you must be having some kind of training documents you might have used to train the users. Even if you did not provide anything, they might have made for their own use over a period of last few years or few months since they have been using a system, and I'm pretty sure we can utilize that. I can ping them for this thing. Even if you don't have anything, you're providing me system access, I can look at it, and I can talk to the testers who tested the application to begin with and understand if there is some functionality which is not understandable. First of all, I see very little functionality I will be only requiring the subtle details of the things. Other than that, I do understand the high level processes around sales, so I'm pretty sure I'll pick up the things quite fast. For example, in opportunity management, I know teams have to be set up, opportunity data has to be set up, follow-up activities have to be set up. These are the typical use cases for any opportunity level thing. Forecasting data has to be set up, pipeline management related data has to be set up, proposal generation related functionality has to be set up. First of all, out of the 6 or 7 areas, you may not be using any of those, or you might be using. So that is my first probing, the system thing. I will probe the system, what you're using and what you're not. Within the sub area that you are using, that you are having the functionality of, I will try to see what all functionalities you have and what all the subtle points of the functionality you have. For example, in proposal generation, what else data from different entities goes into a proposal. So I have an eye for such details. I will get those details. I will get those details by looking at the system or by talking to testers or by talking to trainers very fast. I'm sure you must be having some BAs, the BAs from the previous release, so I can talk to them and get some inputs. Similarly, I'm sure you must be having the developers from the previous release or the people who actually worked on the previous release and who know the system, and I can talk to them. This system was prepared by Accenture and the entire team is left. Let's say the interviewer saves. Agreed. Typically, Accenture produces a lot of documents as part of their way of working. Yes, but those documents are not up to date. That's exactly my point. I don't need the exact system documents. I just need approximately what they did, and that should give me a much better idea than that will give me a very good starting point. And that's the starting point I need. Other than that, I can just look at the system and build my knowledge on top of it. So I should be able to get up to speed quite fast in the projects that I've gone. Let me tell you something very interesting. Out of 7 Siebel implementations that I worked at, approximately 4 or 5 did not have any kind of authoritative documentation when I started the project. In those projects, it took me approximately 1 to 2 weeks to get up to speed on the system system functionalities and the processes that it is automating. So if you ask me, you are using a CRM system and how soon, I think I should not take more than 1.5 weeks. No, it's a different kind of a system. We have a lot of pricing work. We have a lot of pricing work. I understand. See, you have to understand. For a typical CRM system, there are certain real-time integrations, there are certain batch integrations which have to be enabled. For example, DNB integration, for example, pricing and product configuration integration. So for example, in pricing and product configuration, I know that there is usually a rules engine and there is usually a product master. And then there is a rules engine. What product can we combine with other product and things like that. So, once I have the basic framework in my mind, it just is about learning some of the facts, and even if you don't have a database, I can probe the system and learn it. And then at the end, and at the end of the day, I have to gather requirements. I'm pretty sure within a 1.5 week or so, I will be able to get enough knowledge about the system that I can start asking the right questions from the users in order to get the right requirement. And see, our goal is to get the right requirement. So I can start to do that, once I have some knowledge of the system. ठीक है? और कुछ जो मैंने ना बोला. Our system is highly customized. What kind of challenges do you see in this project? This question can come in many bottles. So it might just stop here. Second, it might just ask you in getting up to speed on the project, because it's customized system. So even if you have a lot of Siebel knowledge, it may not work for you, right? That's the gist of the question, because you need to understand their system. And we don't have any documentation available, so that's another thing. So how do you handle this question? What are your strengths and weaknesses? So tell me क्या बोलोगे? Or question है, what are your objectives of life? Second is, where do you see yourself after 5 years or 10 years? और क्वेश्चन है, where do you एक मिनट जरा ऐसा तो कोई और क्वेश्चन बताओ यार, जरा पर्सनालिटी क्वेश्चंस.
Okay, I am working in Siebel from.
What do you like in this job?
Okay.
What do you like? Oh, hold, मैंने जो क्वेश्चन का मेरे अपनी रिगार्डिंग कंप्लीट करना है. What do you like in this job? What do you like about your job? What do you like about being a BA? What makes you get up in the morning and go to your job? ये भी कई बार एक स्टूपिड से बंदे ने क्वेश्चन पूछा होगा. How do you deal with the offshore team? How do you deal with the offshore team? What kind of challenges do you see? How do you balance your personal and professional life? Let's say there's a project where you're needed, like your weekend project presence is needed, and you're supposed to do a lot of work. How do you balance your personal and professional life? How do you plan your tasks? How do you, ठीक है, इसके different variations हैं. How do you plan your day? What kind of challenges you see as a BA, that you have faced planning a day? How do you deal with a tough user? If there is a user, who's tough. So basically, with help of inputs from Pankaj and you guys and Pritam, so this is what I think. If I'm asked the question, how will you, if you're given two high priority tasks, which obviously one assumption is, you have only time for one or maybe just 1.5, but you cannot complete both. Then how would you go about completing those tasks? See, one is obviously, let's say, so let's quantify those tasks. Let's say both are going to take 30 hours and I have 1 week to complete those tasks. So that means it's a 60-hour work, but then only 40 hours are left with me. So one thing is obviously I have to work more. But then there is not only just one problem that I need to spend more time. Second thing is, for every task, there are certain dependencies. Like I have to meet with, let's say, certain SMEs. So I have to have 2 meetings with SME 1 and 1 with SME 2. And for the other task, I have to have a meeting with SME 2 and then SME 3. So I can clearly see that I can try to tie the meetings of SME 2 and I can save some time there. So that's one way of, I can try to see, how I can discuss one issue and the other issue in the same meeting. Second thing is, dependencies on the SME meetings. Rest of the work can be done even in the evening, after hours. So I can do something like this, that I can quickly have the first dependencies taken care of for both the tasks, and then work over time and make sure that I understand most of the stack, and then be ready for the second meeting on the second day or third day, whatever the case could be. The point is, I will try to make sure the dependencies are taken care of during the day, and the rest of the things I can complete over after hours. Because then I'm having enough data from the day to work on both the tasks, and I can complete this. These are the only 2 things coming to my mind. I will spend extra time, and I will make sure that the dependencies are taken care of during the day. Okay, and because rest of the time is available, then I can just do my documentation, for example, I can do in the after hours. So you can throw this in. So documentation can be done after hours. All the cross analysis can be done after hours. Let's say I do need to research in the system for something, that can be done in the after hours. During the day, I can make sure that I meet with the people and gather as much information regarding the issues as possible and drive those issues towards closure. On the second day, I can start to throw my research in front of them and just drive those towards closure. I'm pretty sure if I'm having 2 high priority tasks or 2 high priority issues, I can quickly identify the dependencies and push everything else to the after hours. So this is how, and that's how I can take care of both the tasks and complete those on time. Typically, that situation does not arise because a plan might be quite far. during the project, I know typically what issues can come in the project. Let's say there are like two areas, like let's say you're doing something related to service request. So I know that in service request, status and substatus is going to be an issue. Asset number and account number is going to be an issue. Setting up the SLAs is going to be an issue. Verifying the entitlements is going to be an issue. The field length, the auto population, what all should come into the service request form once you enter the asset ID is not going to be a big issue. It's not going to be a big issue. Big issue is going to be when the entitlement is clicked, what are the rules for the entitlements to pop, right? Once you enter the asset ID, what information comes, not a big deal. We can pull anything. That's not a big problem. The problem is if they have an issue, if they have something like they can enter account ID or asset ID, then we have an issue. Similarly, once the service request status and substatus has to be entered, that is an issue. Because if there are 5 groups and 5 products and there are 5 groups sitting in the room, all will want to have different values of the statuses and substatuses. Remember this part. And that's a very, very big challenge to ask them to agree on one set of statuses and substatuses. Similarly, for areas and sub areas, everybody ask everybody to agree on one set of areas and sub areas is going to be a challenge. So these are the see, just as I'm getting into a project, it's service request related, I can see the challenges that I will face, and on the basis of that I can prepare myself quite well in advance. For example, for these 4 things, just regarding this scenario, I will start to talk to them even in the first few days, even before the workshops are planned. I'm not going to wait for the issues to crop up. I know these issues will crop up. I'll try to get a sense of what kind of variations exist among product groups, and I'll start to think in terms of a common method or common set of statuses and substatuses that could possibly satisfy everybody. I may or may not throw it in front of them on the first day of the workshop, or I might do that. Quite frankly, I'm quite prepared for the issue. I can clearly see this issue will not come. So proper planning can act very well to ensure that we see lesser and lesser issues down the line. Still, at the end of the day, you can still encounter issues, and I think, from a personal management standpoint, I'm very well equipped to handle any kind of situation. मैं फिर वही बात ले आया. तो tell me your strengths and weaknesses. So your strengths are going to be around you being able to organize very well, so organization ability. Second thing is, so I can organize meetings and I can organize my work. So you have to talk about that. Do Google search on if you don't know what to talk now. Second thing is communication, that I like to communicate to users. I enjoy talking to people, and my job profile is like that, and it really helps me. I think this is one of my core strengths. Third is analytical skills. I can analyze quite well. As you're a business analyst, analytical skills, emphasis on analytical skills will work wonders for you. So if you don't know how to talk more about it, just do Google. Just do Googling now. But you need to talk about these 3 or 4 things. Time management, something like that. Weaknesses, I need to know a few weaknesses now. Second weakness is I'm very impatient person. So say how? See, what happens is, my work, I'm a business analyst, so my work requires a lot of, my work is highly dependent on many things. Just make it, compare it to a developer's work. He gets the requirement, it's a frozen requirement, he just has to keep working on it and he can just take it from there. Whereas my work is always dependent on so many other people. So it's a very common thing that I would, ask someone a question, and then there are certain things that I need to do after that. I will keep doing that. I'll finish, and then I have to patiently wait for other people to respond because I have nothing else to do. I will work on some other item, make it push, make it drive, make it go forward. Again, wait for the result, answer from the other person. Sometimes I have to I'm seen patiently waiting for other people, and sometimes that starts to get onto me. Because like in my last project, there were like 25 enhancement requests. Agreed. 5 were like high in scope and 20 were smaller ones. They were smaller changes, like they wanted to change certain templates and they wanted to change certain forms. Bigger ones were there when they wanted to, like those required workflows. I quickly, identified all the SMEs and quickly sent them emails and, quickly organized meetings. And then, but, there were so many SMEs who were not even available that week. So the point is, I was waiting for them to finish the task. And here what I was doing, I had already done a lot of prep work. Now I was just ready for the meetings and waiting patiently for the meetings. And it starts to something get onto me. So that's kind of a weakness. सो यू आर एक्चुअली सेइंग कि मैं सारा काम बहुत टाइम पे कर लेता हूँ, बहुत अच्छे तरीके से काम करता हूँ, जल्दी जल्दी कर लेता हूँ, और तब मेरे को टाइम बच जाता है जो मुझे समझ नहीं आता मैं कैसे यूटिलाइज करूँ. I try very hard to work on other issues. I can handle a lot of issues at a time. At the same time, I still get a lot of time where I don't know what to do with my time because I'm waiting for other people. So this kind of thing is sounding more like a weakness. You're emphasizing on the weakness, but actually there is a undertone that that basically makes it a strength. Let's say someone says, people will counter question and they might say, do you keep bugging them or something? No, typically I would know, as I said, do a lot of homework. So I would, in my homework, I would be knowing what kind of constraints that guy faces in terms of responding to me. Let's say he's a director, so I know that he's going to be sitting in certain couple of meetings. Let's say there is a seminar that certain set of users are going to, then I would know those things in advance, and then I have to patiently wait for those. As I said, patiently. So my problem is that I have to wait for the result, and it requires a lot of patience on my part. But at the same time, I try to channel my energy into getting other things done. Let's say, for example, I typically maintain a lot of research items that I need to do on the system. It's just for general enhancement, knowledge enhancement of the system. There are certain tools that I need to learn to be able to do my work properly. Let's say, then I will keep these kind of buffer times for learning those things and do those research. So this is how I fill my gaps, fill my time. कुछ भी बना दो.